Thanks everybody for being here tonight. For those of you who I don't know, and I see a lot of new faces out there, my name is Jenna Christensen, and I'm the founder of Women at Work. We started this organization a little over 2 years ago with 12 people sitting around a table talking about our challenges and sort of real-time helping each other sort of solve those problems. And the reason behind wanting to start this organization is I really wanted to create a space where women could come together and share both their victories and their challenges so we can help each other all rise together. So I really appreciate you being here tonight. I want to thank the amazing people from Needler Faucher for being such fabulous hosts and giving us this wonderfully comfortable furniture that we're sitting on tonight. So thank you, Rocky and Mark. Thank you, and Natalie and Tina. Yes, thank you so much, and for the wonderful refreshments and all of that. Again, for those of you who are new to Women at Work, anyone who has questions afterwards, if you want to just come and talk to me or Amanda, who's sitting right back there. We do have different membership packages and things like that, and we offer other programming in addition to these conversations that we host 6 times a year. But I want to talk a little bit about why I wanted to have this conversation. I'm so honored to have these two people here with us tonight, Bianca Chen and Spencer Rudin. I have known them and also been watching them as fans from afar for many years and admire the steps that they are taking in the work that they are doing. I think one of the reasons I identify so much with the challenges you guys face and what you're doing is I once too, and I don't know how many people know this, worked for a family business, my own family business, and worked with my father and understand again what is the balance between sort of honoring, what the legacy is of the brand and how do you sort of make your own mark and keep the brand relevant. And the more I started thinking about this conversation, the more I started to realize, this is not just a relevant topic for family businesses, it's a relevant topic for any business, because really the work we do with my real company, which is GC Collaborative, is helping business sort of navigate that. Like, why did they start their business in the first place? What's their differentiating point? How do they honor where they came from but continue to grow in this sort of ever-changing marketplace? So I want to thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Now, I do have your bios to read, but I think that's so boring. But I would, if you both wouldn't mind, just taking a minute or two to kind of just give us a little bit of your background to just sort of share with the crowd. Do you want to start?
Sure.
Spencer?
I'm Spencer Rudin. So I'm the 4th generation of my family to be involved in our Los Angeles-based business. I grew up in LA. I've lived a couple other places, but I feel to be a true Angelino and love everything about this city. Kind of grew up in design, as I'm sure all of us did up here, and pretty much everybody in the room. And I joined my family business about 11 years ago after a brief stint in the music industry. And yeah, it's just been a ride ever since, applying different ways of my experience and seeing the world, and just looking forward to what's next.
Awesome.
I'm Bianca Chen, and my parents own JF Chen. I've worked there for 15 years. Before that, I was in the hospitality industry, working in hotels in New York, both in New York and in Los Angeles. Graduated in New York from NYU with a hospitality degree, moved back home, worked in some hotels here, and then couldn't take it anymore. And I was like, I'm ready to come work for you guys. So that's how it all started.
That's awesome. And it's such a lead into my first question.
Yes.
So as I mentioned before, I worked for a family business, but before I did, I worked in fashion for years. And I literally got to the point where I was like, what? This is just not for me. So my father had a manufacturing company, and he made wood molding for the picture frame. and furniture industry. And in the beginning, and when I was a very young child, he would split his time between actually working in the factory and being a salesperson and an executive. So as a really young kid, I became very aware of like what daddy does and what days, oh, daddy smells, he was in the factory today, and like when he was all dressed up and selling. So my first question is to you guys, when did you first become aware of what your family did as a company? And, was it something that was shared around the dinner table, or was it something that was sort of avoided?
It was never talked about at the dinner table. I think my parents really let both my sister, who's here, and I kind of explore other things of what we wanted to do, and we're very open about that. So it was never forced upon us or like, and I used to go there after school, wait for them to get off work, and I was so bored. I was like, how is this a business? Like, I'm sitting there, and, I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I never got it. And I didn't really get it until I worked for them 15 years ago. I mean, I knew they were selling to designers and, that there is this niche market. But other than that, it was never really forced upon me. But I did realize the importance of design and antique furniture, especially at home, because it's like, be careful, don't touch that, or, things like that. So I knew it was something very precious, but I never understood. I'm like, people buy this stuff for their house. I mean, it's just, I never knew there was such a niche business of interior designers and showrooms, and how they help each other in the business. And so that's how I got exposed to it. But it was only, I still think 15 years is very recent. So I'm still learning so much about how things work. And within that 15 years, it's also changed a lot. Where it used to be trade only, and now it's like we've really opened it up to retail and the public market. And it has to be that way, I think, right now.
Right. What about you, Spencer?
Some similar experiences. My parents were very, very open growing up, always promoted us, my brother and I, being very creative in any way. So I kind of knew that my dad went down to a factory every day with my grandfather and messed around with furniture, but it wasn't until I was invited to one of our first holiday parties where my brother and I cut loose during when Santa came out and grabbed foam rubber and grabbed some of the staple guns and went to war with each other. So it became a thing. And
do you do this every year now?
So I tried, but after like 2 or 3 years, our head of production, who was still with us, actually decided to turn off the air power whenever we'd come around. So it was always a playful thing. I grew up making pillow forts, and I didn't know it was with Fortuny fabric and things like that. It's been part of my DNA, luckily. My mom's a jewelry designer and, an art history aficionado. And whenever I was a little kid, we would get dragged. At that time, it was dragged to different places and seeing art around the world, and I hated it. And then it came to a point where I was like, oh, this is my life. Now I thank them for taking me on the tour of the Medicis when I was in, Florence, when all I wanted to do was eat gelato and pizza and skateboard and be a punk. But, I went away to college in the Midwest. I went to WashU in St. Louis and kind of studied business and marketing and entrepreneurship. And at the time, I did think about how I could apply this to my understanding of what my family's business was at the time. Okay, we make furniture, we have these showrooms, we kind of, curate to a certain extent all these people's different ideas and how to fasten it together. And that really excited me. But I also studied music, so I had a huge love of jazz at the time, and in St. Louis I had a chance to see Chuck Berry play all the time at Blueberry Hill and things like that, and B.B. King play. And so I came back to LA, and like an LA kid, wanted to work in entertainment to a certain extent, and tried a couple years and came to realize that it wasn't really the right path for creativity. So I had a long conversation with my dad. I was probably like 22 at the time, and we found a great place where he thought that I could bring some value to the business. And ever since, it's just been this wonderful ride of balancing and, exchanging opinions, and just to feel very lucky.
Yeah, that's so great. So you guys both sort of touched a little bit on, you especially, Bianca, of like having a memory from being in the showroom space. Is there a specific story that you can remember from your childhood that, I don't know, sort of stands out?
I remember being in the store, and I was so bored that I pretended that I was like running the store. So I put sold tags on all this stuff, like I sold this, I sold that. And clients would come in, and my parents would be like, who sold this? And we would sell it because I put these sold tags all over the place. And it was a joke, and I was just playing like store or whatever. And so I remember my parents having this conversation. I was in my mom's office, and they were like, when did we sell that? There's no invoice. Oh, and I was like, oh, I put that. I mean, it was just, and then they realized that I was playing. I put sold tags on everything. And they were so happy because they thought they sold it. But I was like, sorry. I had to take
It's a little different than the grocery store game that I used to play with my grandmother.
Right? It's like, and so, you know, I probably got their hopes up, and then, sorry, it was not sold. It was just me playing around. So that's my fondest. I mean, I just thought it was so funny because I was so, I mean, really, as a child, you know, I just was like sitting there, and I'm like, okay, what can I do? And, you know, my parents are typing away on a typewriter, and I'm like, you know, I'm just going to take these, found this whole drawer of sold tags. And I was like, yes, everything's sold. And I pretended to make my own receipt.
That's amazing.
And then nothing was sold. But that's my fondest memory of in the store. So, but other than that, like, I just had, like, they just were very free about what I wanted to do and never forced me in it.
Yeah.
And I also, being at home, you know, was a lot of, you know, my childhood friend is here, Sylvia, it's kindergarten. You know, we would hear my parents come home, we'd like jump up from the sofa and like fluff the pillows and like make sure, to make sure that, you know, we didn't mess up the Fortuny fabric. So that's another fond memory, like just always like hearing the car. And I'm like, oh my God, we have to fluff everything, make sure we didn't sit here like, you know, just to be.
We're being perfect.
We're being
promise.
perfect, we're just watching TV, you know. So those are the two fondest memories of it. But now I understand why.
Right. So you talked about
I mean, the pillow fluffing is real.
It is
I
real,
mean,
right?
I have
Pillows
it
fluffing.
burnt into me. Like,
Yes.
I cannot walk into a friend's house without fluffing their pillows. It's a blessing and a curse. I don't know. I just
Are
have
you a
some kind of-
karate chopper? Or
Yes,
just,
I
okay.
would.
So yeah, for throw pillows, I do throw
Yeah.
that down a little bit, but I really, you know, give them a good beating.
Yeah.
It's a seat cushion or back pillow. I kind of get my
Like
aggression
that.
out
Yeah.
sometimes. Like depends how long it's been since they've been fluffed. But you know, more general. I was really lucky to have some time working with both my grandfather and my dad. So just like really fond memories of sitting at a round table with both of them, trying to understand how to build a custom frame, how to like get the proportions right. My grandfather was like such a whiz with numbers. He was like a genius with numbers. It always blew my mind. And being able to have kind of 3 generations in one place and just be that little sponge, that was kind of like early on in my time at Rudin. So I have that like beautiful memory always kind of, you know.
And it's
in
so
my head.
special, and I just want to like again like applaud you and your family, because do you know how rare it is in America for there to be a 4th generation company? It's really extraordinary. Yeah, and that experience you had with your dad and your grandfather is really rare.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm jealous. Okay, let's move on. So I'm curious, you know, Bianca, you've said it several times, like nobody like really forced you to, you know, it wasn't like everyone sort of gave you your own wings, but when did you really start to show an interest in the business? And, you know, how was it having that first conversation with your parents? Like, were they encouraging and same thing to you, Spencer, or was it like, I remember having the conversation with my father, and it wasn't even me really thinking that working for him was a possibility, because at the time I lived in New York. His manufacturing facility was in North Carolina. I was like, I'm not moving to North Carolina. But I was at a point in my career where I wasn't happy. But he happened to have a sales position opening in New York. So he sort of pitched it to me, and I thought, oh my God, I've always wanted to have this experience working with my dad. So it happened very organically. Can you maybe go a little bit deeper into your stories about how you came on board?
Mine wasn't as organic. I kind of like, was like, I'm done with hotels. I'm coming to work for you. Basically, like, I just couldn't, being in the hotel business, I was working 18-hour days, and it was so tough. And, I moved back to LA from New York, because my parents were like, time to get a career. We're not going to finance you for the rest of your life. I'm like, okay, I'm buying a ticket on your credit card. I'm coming home. So I came home, and I got a job at Shutters on the Beach Hotel and Intercontinental Hotel here. I worked at both. Worked at one and then the other. And 9/11 happened actually during Shutters, and I had a really tough time because we had to lay off all the hourlies, and the management team had to work all the shifts. So I was like sleeping at the hotel and like,
Wow.
so stressed out, and it just got to a point where I partly came home to be closer to family, and still wasn't able to spend holidays with them. I worked every New Year's, I worked every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, because the hotel business is open 365 days a year.
Right.
And it just got to a point where I was like, this is not healthy. Like, I was just so tired, and I said, you know what? I'm going to start working for her. I'm going to see how it goes. And that's how it went. I was like, I'm coming on Monday. I'm going to start Monday.
And they were just like, oh, okay.
Come on in, And so that's how it all started. I started, answering phones, and, the same in the hotel industry. I started as the phone operator at, Intercon, and then moved up. And so same thing, they started me from, we do everything at JF Chen. So I was really good with sales and clients. I was so used to the customers. I was always talking to, customers in a hotel, so it was very easy for me. I learned a lot of the administrative stuff and moved up from there and just kept going. We still do the same thing, but of course I have more freedom. And that's how it all started. I kind of like gave them no choice. Coming, that's it. We're hiring. Done.
I love that
That's
attitude.
how it worked for me.
How about you,
I
Spencer?
kind of tiptoed in at one point. So I think before I went into my senior year of college, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my summer job. I really didn't want a summer job. I wanted to be able to enjoy myself. And my parents were like, I'm not going to have that. No chance. So I ended up going to work in the factory in cleaning. So in cleaning and wrapping, it was the last stage before furniture is set up, making sure that legs had no dings, physically wrapping the legs, understanding, quality control and what we're really, really looking for. So it was like, I think a subliminal hint and a bit of like, hey, begin to understand the whole process if you really want to one day be involved with this. And when I came on full-time, it was a little bit different. I was kind of fresh out of business school, and so gave my father a marketing plan. And was just like, this is what I can do for you. Like, let's make it happen. And I'm really lucky. Like, my family is so open and supportive and wonderful, and just kind of started helping with branding and advertising and marketing a little bit. And I love working with people. It's natural. It's what I fuel myself off of. And it's evolved since then, but it's one thing that I feel like I kind of had a hand in accomplishing is like setting a plan out like 8 or 10 years ago and watching it relatively come to fruition.
Yeah.
So
Very exciting.
I'm happy to just be part of it.
Awesome. So you guys have kind of touched upon like what your initial role was when you first joined the company. How can you kind of walk us through like what a typical day is like for you and what your sort of responsibilities are to date?
Well, for me, I'm always late for work. Always. Even though I live 4 blocks from work, I'm still late. And I don't walk, I drive to work 4 blocks. And I'm still
Which
always
is probably
late.
why you're late.
Yes, exactly. Because I'm like trying to get stuff in, I always forget something, and wake up late. But it usually starts emails in the morning. I'm in the showroom a lot. So I do help a lot of people. And at JFChen we're very small, so we do everything. We do customer service, we do shipping, we'll do some of the account, like invoicing, returns, memos. So my whole day is really like daily activities that everybody else does, and I'm there to support and to help. And and then outside of work, you know, when I can, I'm trying to find contemporary artists or more people to represent in our showroom, because we've gone from a lot of antique and vintage also into representing contemporary artists who make functional furniture. And because I think that's where a lot of the market is going as well. So every day I'm trying to figure out where I can take the business, because I think the business has changed even within the 15 years that I've worked. Even growing up, noticing the kind of clients you get are different. We've had to help allow a lot of the public to come in, so it's a whole nother world, as opposed to where this sort of business has grew from, which was an interior designer and showroom relationship. And so I appreciate that A-Room is still trade only, which I love, which is what we used to be, but having a storefront is different. So we have to kind of change with the times. So basically my day-to-day is a lot of helping people, trying to make that sale. You know, at the end of the day, it's still, I got to make that sale. So whether it's...
And there's no fake sold tags anymore.
There's no fake sold tags, but there's a lot of wishy-washy, aka hold tags. So, you know, it's like a lot of memos, a lot, you know, and it's, you know, following up, and a lot of follow-up is involved, and a lot of keeping that relationship with your clients. So I do spend a lot of time talking to people and helping people understand. I really want to educate people. I think that the vintage furniture, antique furniture is, I don't want to say dying, but it's not as prevalent as it was when I was younger growing up. And so a lot of it is education.
What do you think? I actually just went to a talk, I think it was during West Week, where the subject was talking about antiques specifically and how there's been a shift away. What do you kind of attribute that to, that shift?
Millennials, social media, definitely technology has played a huge role, where when I started, we were taking Polaroid pictures and writing on the back. I mean, Nicole and Kim know, I'm like, let me photocopy for a copy for us. Like, forget email. Like, it was just a Polaroid. We write on the back the price. We'd photocopy it just so we had a copy. You know, it was so much, it was a lot. And now there's online websites and shopping online. You have from, like, you know, it started with eBay to First Dibs to Incollect to everything now, where that's changed everything. It's changed profit margins. It's changed the shopper. It's changed the vendor. It's really something that we have to adapt to, and it's hard because we find less, where we used to always have people come in, you know, now it's kind of like double the phone calls. Like, I'm on the phone a lot, and people who are seeing stuff online, and how much is this, and that, you know, what's the condition? And for me, it's hard because I think condition's relative. Like, you may think a patina is so terrible, like, that's so ugly. To me, it's beautiful.
Right.
You know, it shows the wear of somebody using it. It's the history of this antique piece. Or nature, like outdoor stuff, is going to patina because nature, the sun, the rain gets to it, and it becomes special, you know, that somebody uses it. But there's so many people out there now that want new things with all these showrooms, like, you know, restoration, or, you know, more power to them, but at the same time, you know, it kind of takes away. And that's where the challenge is, I think.
I feel like quality, though, is coming back. It was like a fad for things to be quick and not to necessarily know the maker. Now, I think that tried and true tradition of true craftsmanship and uniquely made goods, wherever they're made in the world, is being appreciated. I mean, I went to a preview of an auction recently at Sotheby's, and there were countless priceless works of art in the room, and then next to them were, you know, some Corbusier chairs and some Tiffany lamps and a couple other things to where, like, feel like furniture is appreciated as art now. I know that you've seen that happening throughout the time, and I'm sure there have been different waves of it, but I really do believe that we're reaching that time where, yes, they're the RHs of the world. Yes, they're people that are making stuff quickly and you don't know where it's coming from, but they're also, a younger generation of people that like bespoke goods, like things that are made by hand, like knowing who's making it, being able to see that, and it not just being a marketing play, really, it being a truth and like kind of part of the ethos of what that good is.
Right. Well, it's sort of the antithesis, isn't it, of what RH is? And, right, they have their own thing, and they're obviously doing a great job. But like, I think the only way to kind of, I think, compete is like you have to be crafted and you have to be customizable, and there has to be like this specialness, this uniqueness to every piece, or else how are you gonna compete?
Yeah.
But do you want to walk us through what your day looks like, Spencer?
Every day is very different these days, honestly. I've been spending a lot of time with Kathleen over there, doing a lot of kind of forward-facing sales calls. So I really enjoy, as I said before, spending time with the clients. We've been working with a lot of other hospitality and contract firms as well, just to kind of spread the word about what we were just talking about, quality and that there are incredible American-made goods that'll stand the test of time. I just had a piece of furniture that came back from the 70s just to be reupholstered.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, yeah. I was joking with my dad. He's like, this is a bad business model. We need to figure out a way like to have self-destruct after 10 years or 12 years. Like, get it done. No reupholstery. Let's do this. But yeah, exactly. My iPhone 7 is melting down right now. So yeah, I don't know how that works though.
But you're right. I had someone call who bought a pair of lamps from Needler over 10 years ago, and they asked me to replace the shades. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
I was like, okay. So, it's like finding that vendor from 10 years ago. I mean, I have to match the shades. They were like, we want the exact same shade. And I'm like, I don't even know if that person's around. I was like, okay, let me, we got it made, but it's so, But it also makes me happy they still have these lamps from 10 years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a plus side to it,
people are
definitely.
enjoying their pieces.
Right.
See, beyond that, been spending a lot of time on design recently, which has been incredible. It's a huge passion of mine to, after kind of living with this furniture for a lifetime, to be able to give my take on it and give kind of a fresh look in my own personal aesthetic. And so, been developing a lot of, upholstery, as well as constantly taking meetings with people from magazines and press and understanding all the different new platforms that designers, architects, everybody are using in this day and age. I mean, there was just a DFA meeting last week or something like that where most of the major new softwares that people are using or platforms came and spoke, and I'm such an advocate of our whole industry kind of coming together to have these conversations,
Right.
to speak it outward. I think that closed door policy that once existed in the trade business, I've blown the doors open. I mean, since I've joined Rudin, I've wanted to be friends with everybody in this building and never, it's like comfortable, friendly competition. I mean, here, we're sitting in Needler. They're the most gracious, amazing people, for just having us in there. I love Rocky.
Right.
Who doesn't? You guys are great. So
There is no competition.
yeah, it's just,
They vote.
yeah, and we want a healthy industry. We want everybody to be, excited about their work, have their own aesthetic, have their own position, and there's enough for all of us. It's, it's a great thing. So, every day kind of has a different tale for me, but I enjoy it all. And
Right. So I want to talk a little bit about, and I feel like you've both touched on this a little bit about the challenges you're facing today. One of the things I didn't mention earlier, I had the fortunate experience of working in another family business outside of my own, which was Woven Accents. And during a time when they were transitioning really from one generation to another, and it was a great responsibility to sort of help steward that transition. And how do we, again, honor the work of Abraham Moradzadeh, who had been in business for, I think, 50 years now, and had really created a very well-respected, dealership based on unusual antiques and his passion and love for the hunt. And how do you translate that into a growth potential for the younger generation who want to create new product and have there be a through line, right? So, our biggest challenge was kind of landing on that and really discovering what was important to Abraham. And again, what we landed on was his passion was really for the unique. So we have to be about unique and also adventure and discovery, because that's what his experience was. So, as we were developing new rug designs, we also developed a series of events that were all about adventure and inspiration.
They were
and
awesome.
unique.
They were really
Thank you.
awesome.
They were really
So maybe you guys can kind of speak to what your experience is like, again, in that challenge and sort of finding your through line to make your mark as you move forward.
I think I'm still trying to find my mark. My parents are still very involved in the business. And so my biggest challenge is how to sustain it, how to sustain what they've created and they've started, sustain it, but at the same time still be with the times. And luckily my parents are very hip and trendy, so so it's been a good ride. It's been okay. My biggest challenge is I'm a little scared, I'm not gonna lie, about, this whole internet thing and like trying to get people in the store, trying to make that sale it's been a lot harder than it has been, Also, as a family unit and a family business, I take a lot of things personally, between
God.
daughter and employee,
Right.
and of course things they say I take personally as a daughter, but I have to remember that, I'm at work. So it's just, I think my main goal right now is to be able to sustain and keep up with the times. And that is keeping up with social media, keeping up with the press, keeping up with what people are looking for to buy, whether it's new or vintage. Auctions, my dad's always like, you should look at these auction estimates and prices and results and see what things are going for and why. Magazines, what are people shooting these days? What houses, what style? What designers are, really in the thick of it. And so keeping up with that and making more, when I have something, I'm making more of an effort to email designers that I know might want to be interested in it. I think that getting it out there and getting it to the right client is a big thing to do right now too.
Right.
And we have, 3 showrooms, so it's a lot of inventory. So
Yeah.
it's like, making sure people know that we have a website, and which we finally have after 40 years, that kind of thing of, we're trying to get in there. And luckily they've done it for 40 years and have made a name. And that's a huge advantage that I think we both have.
Yep.
That J.F. Chen and A. Rudin has been around for decades, and we're, for a lot of people, we're a go-to, and I'd like to keep it that way, and hopefully educate the newer designers and the younger people, that this is the place to come in. We're here for you, and we can help you out.
I think you're going to be just
How do
fine.
you think?
Yeah.
Tell my parents that.
Spencer.
Yeah, I share a lot of the same, challenges. When you're working with family, emotion comes into the picture on a daily basis. And I can be a fiery person, and my dad, Ralph, is like the sweetest guy, incredibly talented, wonderful, always just wants the best for his boys, just myself and my brother. But I light the fire on occasion. It gets a little crazy. But being able to sit back and observe how my father dealt with his father, and some of those challenges, and that's taught me a lot of patience. I may have not really even understood what I observed and what I kind of took through osmosis until the last couple of years, and I've realized, okay, like I've seen that you don't always need to kind of snap on somebody about something. I've seen the right way to go about certain situations. And technology is always a challenge. When you have generations you're dealing with, when you have different ways of doing business, there's the challenge of trade versus not trade. There's the challenge of selling, brick and mortar versus selling online, and
Right.
wanting to have your place in all of them. Abraham is to the trade only business right now, but I have to look towards the future as to what our clients and what the future of the consumers are, how they're purchasing, what they're purchasing, how I can be a tool to them with the foundation that I'm so lucky to have. It's just kind of, it's how do you morph that into understanding truly what the client is. And I've been very blessed. My younger brother, Evan, joined the business like 4 years ago. And I was honestly a little kind of worried before then because so much was falling on my shoulders and all sides of the spectrum, from like creative direction, marketing, through sales, through business development. And I was like, is this going to be able to really work? My younger brother had a film background. He went to SC and worked in that industry for a while. And like 3 years ago, he came in and he's now our director of visual communications. And I'm so blessed to have like a partner in crime to kind of understand what it is to navigate this next generation. And he creates the most amazing content, so it makes it a lot easier for me to share that and to get my dad comfortable with, hey, we have this great stuff, let's show it in this new platform, let's share it on Instagram. I mean, my dad's always, asking me how to download this picture from Instagram, and I'm like, it's just give me your phone. Just give me your phone, okay?
I don't even say give me your phone, like figure it out.
Yeah, well, and then again, like my brother, who's now been deemed the tech guy, I'm like, I'm not touching this anymore. So, it's, it's a learning process. I think being patient and really being observant and truly honoring everything from the past. I think I've been very patient. That's why I've not really designed many pieces until recently. It wasn't my place. It wasn't my place to guide the visual of what the pieces are. My dad has always been a very driven, fashion-forward kind of visionary guy that understood what he wants. And as of recent, things have opened up to be like, okay, like, what's your vibe like? What are you seeing that's out there? And, it's now starting to kind of hit the floor, and I've been really enjoying this process. And, that's
great.
On that note, Fiona, do you want to come back? My sister was also very tech savvy and very creative, and she recently left a year ago, but now she's very happy doing graphic design. But sometimes you need that.
Though. You can get
totally.
That working.
Yes.
So it sounds like you both sort of split your time between sales and creative side. So, you with designing, Spencer, and Bianca with you looking for sort of the new people to be representing. So how do you stay inspired? What are some things you do, maybe when you feel like you've gotten in a rut and need inspiration, or are there things you do on a weekly basis just to keep yourself sort of filled up creatively?
I mean, honestly, I don't want to admit it, but I do look through my dad's Instagram because he goes everywhere. And I should not admit that with him here because he's always like, didn't you see my Instagram? And I'm like, no, but really I did. Because he goes everywhere on the weekends. Whatever he has free time, he's always looking for new things and always exploring. And I was born and raised in LA. My parents have been here since college, since they were in college. And there's always new things here, new things happening, new things coming up. And they're always the first to go. And I'm always like, I can't stand the crowds. I'm just going to wait till it dies down. But they're the first to go. And it's something to be admired and respected. And I am not there yet because, as much as I would like to go with them on the weekends, sometimes I'm like, I need a break because I've been with them all 5 days a week, that auction catalog, my dad's always finding new things. Also, I just noticed we get so many emails a day from different companies, and I don't even bother, sometimes I don't open it, but somehow my dad opens everything. He's like, what is this? What is this? And then when I look at it, I'm like, oh, it's actually like somebody showing me their work. Maybe it's something, So, a lot of it is my parents, to be honest. They go everywhere. They travel a lot still, and are very, very into style, design, everything. And so it's definitely something inherited, I think, and been surrounded by a lot. So definitely my family has been a huge, huge, little things that he'll take pictures. I'm like, what is that? Why would you take a picture? Why would you Instagram that? But then, hey, 5,000 likes later, I'm like, oh,
Right.
okay, great. I get so it's how you see things. It could be, a wood stump that people love. But
Right.
hey, it's the way it grew. So that's a lot of inspiration. The magazines these days, I'm very happy about the art scene here. It's really bringing out more people. More people are moving to LA from the East Coast, from everywhere, and I go to as much as I can. As much as there's things like every day. If you go, it's when you're going to see it. And I feel like I don't want to miss out on anything. So I will, as much as I can, whatever I'm invited to, I will go.
All right, Milan next year.
Milan next year, we're doing it. I haven't been there yet,
Done.
but we're going.
Same, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
What about you?
Nature, I would say, is my single biggest inspiration. If I'm having a rough day or if I'm hitting a rut, if I'm able to spend some time outside, I spend a lot of time in the ocean surfing, and so that's where I come to some of my best ideas, but I also just am continually inspired. A certain wind pattern in the water will have me think about, okay, what would this texture be like on a finish for a chair, or travel combined with nature is like the single. So it's like the fire of life for me. Also, art constantly. It's such a huge part of my life, from making art to collecting art to now I'm starting to get a little more involved with some of the museums. So I just joined a group at LACMA, and I want to give back, and I joined the Curator Circle.
Nice.
Which I went to my first event the other day, and it was incredible. So I urge everybody to check it out. But any creative experience I can have, I try to say yes to. And I'm blessed to have a lot of friends, and some that are in the room
Yes.
are incredibly creative people and artists and photographers. And I firmly believe in kind of banding together and creating like a unified vision of pushing what's next, pushing what's interesting, how we can collaborate together, how one person's fault can become somebody else's benefit. And I really do. I like aligning people like you, Jenna.
Yeah.
Like I really, really like getting talented people together from different walks of life. So that inspires me. Other people inspire me. Film inspires me continually. But travel and nature are just like the gift that keep on giving, honestly.
Yeah.
And we have a big advantage in Los Angeles where you can go to the mountains in an hour.
Yeah.
You can go to the desert in
Right.
2 hours. You can go anywhere. And that's the beauty, I think, also of this city.
Okay, I have two more questions, and then I'm going to open it up to the group here. What is the most important lesson that you've learned from your parents about business and/or life?
Most important lesson. God, that's so hard.
All like
There's so many lessons.
Yeah. I
I learn a lesson every day.
Yeah.
So tell us the latest one, maybe. What'd you learn today?
I learned that I'm too old to go to Coachella. Yes, they told me. I was like, my mom said, maybe you're too old to go to. Because I had to miss a day of work because I was so tired. So that was one lesson I learned. I thought I could handle it. I couldn't do it. I was so tired. I can't even walk right now. I'm so tired. So that's one lesson. They're really good at telling me. I try. My biggest lesson is to not take things personally.
Yeah.
Really, really, I want to work on that so much, and I admit it to all of you. It's a struggle every day because, you want to please your parents, and you want to, my biggest thing is to make them proud, but also keep myself happy.
Sure.
Like, make sure that this is what I want to do. This is what and they've always said, if it makes you happy, and they know that if this doesn't make me happy and I don't want to do it, I don't have to do it.
Right.
So it has been my choice to stay with challenges, and and it's every day is learning new things and learning to just take things in stride, and it's a learning experience every day. So, and I have to know that, and I have to know that this future is mine and that they are relying on me to continue it. So that's something that I will always remember and have to remember all the time, and just not, at the end of the day, they want their kids to be happy.
Yeah.
Whether or not, if I can succeed in this, great for all of us and for the family name and everything. But if I don't, what happens, and I think they understand that, and and they see that I'm trying. So but I would say that's the biggest challenge. It's just really making them proud, but also staying happy, and not doing something just for them, but knowing that I'm doing it for myself as well.
Right.
And so,
I think that's truly part of being in a family business, though. It's,
Yeah.
Wanting to do everything for the legacy, for the greater good, but also find your own voice
Yeah.
and find your path and happiness through it. And that's a day-to-day, I don't want to say struggle, but it's a challenge
It's a
sometimes.
challenge,
And, like you, I'm the same way, don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I learned, not only from my business, but really from my mom, honestly, is, treat people how you want to be treated. In this world of so many products and so much stuff, luxury is about service, and it's about treating people correctly. And
Right.
and so, that's just like a cornerstone of life. Everybody has the screaming client every once in a while, and I've learned to kind of zen through it, and just sometimes you can bring happiness to somebody's day who's having a horrible day, and you never know what one kind gesture can do to another human being.
Right.
So in my anger fits, I don't remember that sometimes,
Right.
but no, I do try to abide by that, and
Right.
it's really important, and I've had great role models through all the generations, and yeah.
Did you know your great-grandfather?
I didn't. My great-grandfather passed when my dad was still kind of young. He died kind of early, around 50. But I learned a lot from my grandfather. He was super old school. He was born in the Great Depression, sold newspapers on the corner in Chicago, came back to LA, went to college, incredibly smart guy, got drafted for World War II and stationed in Germany as a Jewish man.
Wow.
And actually led a battalion of all African Americans, and he was like one of the first
amazing.
like Jewish guys in Germany to be doing that. So like the level of respect I have for the life that my grandfather had before even touching our business whatsoever. He was 25 years old when he was doing that.
Wow.
I'm 35 and I can barely get dressed in the morning some days. So just respect for everybody. You never know what somebody else is going through in life. So if you can bring a little happiness and a little smile, it really means the world.
And at the end of the day, I'm like, it's a piece of furniture. Like, I think you'll live. So it's like, but so that's why I try and think about it.
Okay, now I'm going to flip the question around. What do you think is the biggest lesson your parents have learned from you?
Jenna.
My parents aren't in the room, so I can go first. I think they're getting okay with they're not right about everything, and that they don't have the be-all, end-all knowledge on every single little thing. And then maybe I have something to offer. I don't know. Yeah.
I think for me, my parents know when to not talk to me and when they can talk to me. I feel like they can sense my if I'm impatient, they kind of can sense it, so they'll either stay away or they can email me a question. I think that's a lesson, and they're open to my ideas. With artists and things, and my dad and I talk a lot about what's next, and we disagree sometimes on what we should who we should be representing and stuff. But at the end of the day, we come to a mutual decision. But they do support and they let me do some things. Not everything, but some things.
Mine learned to keep me fed also. 'Cause I get so angry.
Yeah.
If like,
Oh, yeah, I
if it's
do
like a
that
2
too, like,
o'clock
I didn't get a
meeting and I
lunch.
haven't eaten, it's a mess. So that went down yesterday, and bless my dad's heart, but Kathleen was there.
I have the
Yeah,
same. I was like,
it's-
I didn't get a lunch. I need to eat.
All right, so I want to open it. Does anyone have any questions here in the room? I want to just open it up, see if. Yes.
So I've worked for a couple of family businesses. How do you guys navigate when you need to fill a spot, finding the right person versus taking the person who's standing next to you to do that job?
Good question. That is a constant.
Yeah. I mean, we're always trying to hire from within and support our organization. So I believe that, there's great opportunity in the pool of people that are around you. Yeah, it shouldn't just be the person next to you, but, I've had generations of like upholsterers or cutters or sewers in our factory, and now their kids are running our fabric program or are really doing the data entry. So I think it's about understanding the potential of everybody and really, bringing it out. Because, humans are capable of so much, and there's a vast pool of great people in LA, especially in the creative field, but you want people you can trust and understand your vision and speak the same language. So if I'm looking for somebody to work with, if I don't feel like I can sit and like have a drink with them or talk about aliens or something weird, then I'm not sure it's like the right fit for our organization.
How many people work for you?
We've about like 150 people.
Wow. So we only have me, 1, 2, 4. Well, 8 including our like foremen for 3 showrooms. So it's a lot of
It's a lot.
it's a lot of work for
Yeah.
a little team. So our main thing is trust, for sure. Relationships with clients, being able to multitask is a huge thing because we do everything. Just because I'm Joel's daughter, I'm still doing like a memo, wrapping stuff if I need to, invoicing, helping a client. So we're all very equal in everything that we do. But I would say the main thing is trust, loyalty, and hoping they can stay. We only have 3 showrooms and we're a very small business. So we try and make it as easy as possible, and we all work together. But definitely a trust and reliability, people come in on time other than me, but, so.
We have a question in the back, Wendy.
So, being a family business, who are you grooming to sort of take on that next step? Because we talk about the challenges, but as a family business, that gives you that little bit of cachet that, people tend to feel as though I'm buying from the 3rd or 4th generation. So they're more vested in the product that they're making for me, and so they're going to be around. So how do you see that happening for you? Who do you see happening for you taking that banner and the next step?
I know, that's something I just thought about. I, don't know my sister. Who knows, maybe I'll have children in the next few, I don't know yet. And that's something that I have to think about. And, right now I'm still even after 15 years, I think that I'm still very green, and I need to, there's something new every day, and the times are changing so quickly. Like even just in 15 years, technology is like crazy in the last 5 years.
Right.
So I'm still focusing on just trying to maintain and sustain a business that I want to last. And, when that time comes, I think I have to cross that bridge when I get there. For right now,
Yeah. I still feel like I'm learning, and I've banded together with my brother, and we're kind of forming a really strong, cohesive group. So I have that going. Again, I'm happy my parents aren't in the room because I'm not married and I don't have any children coming. And I feel the steam. But my brother is getting married in October.
Oh, nice.
You know, he'll go to work pretty quickly. So really, like, you know, I'm just celebrating what we have now and trying to find out what the foundation is going to be for the future. Technologically, what style is going to be, if we're even going to live in this dimension, I mean, the way things are going, or on this planet, honestly.
Also,
So,
if we have kids, maybe they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, there's also
Yeah.
that. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I didn't want to do it for so long. So who knows? So you never know. And that, I feel like that's a big thing that just has to happen as it comes and see what happens.
Okay, one more question.
So, in my past, I've worked for a lot of smaller companies that run very big operations, and one of my biggest challenges was, while wearing so many hats, where do you prioritize your time that makes like the best impact? And it was a struggle for me. I love client relationships, but when you're spread so thin, it was a little bit hard at times for me to really hone in on it.
Yeah.
And I wonder how you guys manage that. I mean, coming from a family business and having to wear, both of you have to wear so many hats and run very big operations.
I always prioritize the sale. If I know I can make the sale, that's my priority, is to make that final sale. Definitely.
I mean, it's a challenge when you do a lot of things at once. It's every day it's a different focus, but I'm really working on creating the strongest, most incredible teams of reliable people that can help in the journey. And if I can do that, if I have trust, if I have understanding that we all have this, you know, unified vision, then it takes some of that pressure off of me, and I can really focus in that day on whatever I feel is important that day. If it's closing a sale, if it's making sure the photo shoot's finished, if it's, you know, curating and finding a new line to install because we have something that just left. If I have a strong team and other people around me, then it just makes life so much easier. So, you know, I feel blessed that we have really great people working with us, and I just want to keep fostering that and create the best place to work so that we have fun doing it.
Awesome. Well, I want to again thank Rocky and Mark and Tina and Natalie for hosting us here at Needler tonight. Thank you so much, Bianca and Spencer. I just love having this conversation and wish we had another 3 hours, because of course I have more questions. But thank you again so much for sharing your point of view with all of us. And thank you all for coming out.